Hello everyone, alright, we're just going to do some quick makeup. I'm going to more or less try and speed run through my face makeup, my base, because I really want to get into doing my eyeshadow so I can use this, which is a Noiricorn single eyeshadow. But I also kind of want to give like a quick little like mini update, because today obviously I'm still doing college work. It is my final week, but I have 2 minor assignments I need to submit, which I have a good amount of that done so far, but still. But aside from like the college work, I have been writing. So as I said a half dozen times, my goal is I would like to be a published author one day. And I have like 3, maybe 4 books. Well, I have 4 books that are like kind of works in progress. One is my memoir. And then I have, actually no, 5, because I forgot the horror. I need to figure out what I'm doing at all times. I'm sorry. I'm such a cluster. But no, so one book is my memoir, no big deal. In my mind, I don't think it's a big deal. And I would never treat it as like my debut novel, personally. And that's just me. But I have a few romance novels I'm working on. I know all the romance girlies, perk up, please. One is a historical sapphic romance. Another is, well, I'll get to that one in a second. One is more like a modern day, like it's a second chance romance, for lack of better terms. Where it's like, okay, what if like you were given that chance to be with that one person again? How would things maybe be different, you know? But it's also like, would you take that risk because, you know, they screwed up the first time? You know what I mean? You know? But, no, my brain's turning off. But no, I've been working on the books, so there's a second chance romance. Like, I don't know how I feel about it still. And it's kind of like a hometown romance as well, if that makes any sense. It does take a lot of inspiration from like where I've grown up here in Delaware. Then I have my horror novel, which I do love a lot. That one takes a lot of inspiration from like From Software games, but also like the game series Fatal Frame. And before I would say, oh, I'm just going to like, no. I say takes inspiration. I'm not saying like, oh, I'm going to do like exact 1-to-1. I more so mean in the sense of like the way the games address certain topics. But also the way they blend in like mythology and lore into the game themselves. So obviously Fatal Frame takes a lot of inspiration from Japanese mythology and Shinto religion and everything. And so I'm kind of doing something like that. And before I want to say, oh, just trying to steal. No, I'm not trying to. It will make sense because, again, the idea isn't me like, oh, I'm trying to, you know, be mean. I'm trying to write these ideas poorly. It's the idea of, okay, one second. I want to grab this blush real quick. But no, so in Fatal Frame 3, I'll get back to like the one book I'm really working on right now because I think that's going to be my debut. So Fatal Frame 3, The Tormented, really looks at the idea of grief, loss, and the pain someone might feel, like survivor's guilt. And obviously blends in, to an extent, Shinto mythology and everything in between. And I've always been drawn to the Fatal Frame games. And I do also want to note, this book in particular was at one point originally a D&D campaign. So, to me, I'm just rewriting a D&D campaign as a novel. I'm not writing a brand new, like, from the ground up story. I already kind of had, like, a good base. I'm just modifying it greatly because I don't know if I want to do, like, a multi-person perspective or how I want to do it, seeing as how the original party, when it was a D&D campaign, it was a party of 4 people. So if I want to have, again, the same 4 characters, how do I want to go about, you know, there's 4 perspectives, essentially, then. So, that's kind of why that one, the horror novel, is really taking a back seat for the time being. Not because I don't care about it, but because, essentially, in my mind, I'm trying to just figure out how am I going to address everything correctly. Seeing as how, again, I am taking inspiration to an extent from games like Fatal Frame. And that's kind of what I did with the D&D campaign. But in the D&D campaign, it wasn't as big a deal to have, like, to, like, wear my influences on my, you know, just so openly. So I'm just trying to figure that out, like, okay, this is a very clear reference, like, how would I go about it without it, you know, coming across as outright plagiarism or stealing. And just have it come across more as, like, I'm paying homage or just, like, you know, showing love to this game franchise. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? But, again, that's the horror novel. I'm trying to figure it out. So it is not a top priority. But since it was a D&D campaign, it kind of, that horror fantasy series is, as I just said, it's going to kind of be a series. Because there's so much I would want to address, go over. All of that, really. And that brings us to the big book. So the one I really think I may change to possibly have as, like, my debut novel. The book I think I want to do, like, the most love on. And originally I was thinking I want to do the Sapphic Romance as my debut novel, because I was really invested in the world I was crafting. Because it was a historical Sapphic romance, and I loved, again, the world I was creating. I just want to stress that. Like, I'm not saying that this one isn't good, but I loved the one more at the time. Now, this book is, it's taken on a few different forms. Originally, it was a dark romance, an dark romance, so a gay dark romance, and I really loved it. I'm not saying I don't love it now, but I loved it because I really want to just address a lot of different heavier subjects. I think that's primarily why I want it to be a dark romance. And I want to address it in the sense of, like, okay, this is how it can affect others. Like, your trauma, your past, your fears, your everything. How it affects others. And I know a lot of people have done that, but I wanted to. So yeah, there's that. But no, so the book is, it's titled My Heart Belongs to Daddy. I still want to keep the title. That's why I originally titled it, because I'm like, it's so cheeky. Plus, that's a cute little song. And so, like I said, I do think I want to keep the same name. But I'm thinking I may change it to a romantasy, a dark romantasy novel. Possibly a series. We will see how it goes with the writing. Because originally, and before I went like, oh my god, no, pause, little keyboard warriors. I originally wanted to be write a romantasy at some point, but, and that's originally what this started as. I'm like, oh, I can make this like a romantasy of some kind. But I'm like, no, I'm just gonna make it like a regular dark romance. Maybe mafia related like romance, something like that, because I've read so many like dark mafia related romance series novels. I'm like, okay, I'll just follow the trend, you know, follow the leader. And the more I sat there and thought about it, especially like over the last like couple weeks and everything, I'm like, no. This is what it needs to be. It needs to be blank. And normally I'm not so quick to be like, oh yeah, and just like go with my gut reaction. But like the last couple weeks I've been like, no, this is what it needs to be. Okay, I am just doing this crooked, so I know this will be a little crooked looking. Great. Oh well, but no, that's what I think I'm going to do. Just make it a gay romantasy, like dark romantasy novel. Just because, like, for me, I think it'll just be so much more fun. Personally, okay? Personally. And I don't say that because, like, I don't think the regular dark romance wouldn't be good. I just feel like the dark romantasy aspect would be more fun. Because I can play with the different themes so much more. Especially seeing as how one character has a strong hero complex. He wants to always be the hero. And kind of almost, not saying like all romance doesn't have that, but I feel like in a romantasy book, you can play with that so much more. I don't know. I have ideas. I think it will work well. So yeah, but no, that's what I've been working on a lot today as well. Currently writing some right now. I'm really excited. I really am excited. So we'll get to that in a little bit. I'll tell you more about it later. Stay tuned. Okay, hello. We're going to do some eyeshadow because like I said, I won't play with this Noiricorn single shadow. We'll do that in a second. I'll show you. I'm going to use this Aboutface eye paint in the shade Freaked as an eye primer. I've discussed it a good half dozen times, but I love using the Aboutface matte eye paints as eye primers, especially because I have very oily eyelids. And even if like the color 100% isn't going to be seen at the end of the day, I still like using it. I typically alternate between either Freaked or Capulets. And just smear that all over. Okay? Now we're going to go into the Viseart Violette Violette, I think it's Violette Lumière ÉTENDUE, yeah. Oh, my brain was blanking. I'm just going to take the shade right up here. It is a lot darker in person compared to on camera. And just take it through like the upper half of my crease on a big fluffy blending brush. And we'll start putting this in. I'll be right back once I have it how I want for both eyes. Okay, now I'm going to take the Candy Puppet palette and go into the shade Butterscotch. I'm just going to use the same fluffy brush. I don't know where I just blanked out on which side I want to start on. And just kind of go over the same spots I already applied the other shade to. It's just building it up. But anyway, so I want to talk about the one book I'm currently writing. So I mentioned it earlier in like little Get Ready With Me when I did my face makeup. But, and if you're watching this on YouTube, because it'll be all of it together on the videos, but still, if I decide to do it. But anyway, it is a dark romantasy. So it, well, dark gay, so dark romantasy novel, possibly series, depending on how I want to approach it. And the reason I say that is because I always was torn on if I wanted it to be its own standalone book or if I want it to become a series. And I'm not saying like, oh, it'll be like 4 books. I think at most it'll be like 1, 2, maybe 3 books. Nothing like too crazy, in my opinion. And that's just simply because I don't know how I want to address every single microscopic detail of who these characters are. Because I know who they are, but you, the reader, don't fully understand what I'm getting at in my mind of who these characters are, if that makes sense. So to me, I'm like, I need to make sure every little detail I do, everything I write, translates well, while also, you know, creating a world that makes sense. The struggles, the characters, everything, I need it to make sense. But no, so I'm currently working on that, and to me, it's hard to explain how I feel about this fantasy novel series thing. Because like I said, a lot of characters I feel may need more time. Plus it's also, again, I'm creating a fantasy world as well. So in a fantasy world, you want it to feel grand. You want it to feel alive. You want it to also narratively kind of make sense. You don't want to just like create a world and just be like, oh yeah, this is fine. And if nothing makes sense, just slap the idea of like, oh, it's fantasy, it's whimsical, it's magical, you know, fairies and whatever. Like, that doesn't always work and doesn't always excuse possibly bad writing, if that makes sense. It's not to say that, like, oh, some people don't do something right, or like their world they create doesn't make sense, it's bad writing. No, it's just sometimes there's a reason why, like, aspects are left out in their world building, if, you know. But because I don't fully know if I want this to become a series, I'm trying to think about it from the idea it may just be one standalone book. Which, if it is, okay, I gotta make sure everything is realistically tied up in a pretty little bow. Yeah, does that make sense? Does it? Yes, no, maybe so. Just don't let me know, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, no. So I'm working on the novel. I'm really happy with it. I'm really excited with it. I have a goal. I have a vision. I know what I want. And I'm really happy with the fact that I know what I want. from this, and that sounds so dumb, like, oh, you should know what you want, but the reason I say, like, it's hard to say, like, whatever, only because when you're in that weird brainstorming, like, infancy state of creating your novel, sometimes not everything makes sense. Sometimes you don't know exactly every little detail you want, and that's why I say, like, even now I don't know. But again, I think by making it, I'll be right back once I get this done. 1 second. Okay, we're just gonna pause talking about the book real quick because I want to show off this. So this is the Noiricorn single shadow in the shade Siren Scale. Oh my god, it's so pretty. Oh my god, that's so pretty, that's so pretty, that's so pretty. I'm gonna turn the light down a little bit. Oh, that's so pretty. That's so pretty. Oh. I sound crazy. Guys, you don't understand. This is actually stunning. Stunning. Alright. I'm going to put this the rest of the way all over my lid, and I'll be right back so we can talk about the books some more. 1 moment. Okay, so this is the eyeshadow. I did obviously put my mascara on and everything. It was first written in with the Morphe Lash Primer, and then the e.l.f. Big Mood Mascara in the purple tube, so not the waterproof one. I'm sorry. I just want a simple eye look. Simple, because I really want to frame this eyeshadow, and I feel like I did so well. Like, I don't know, this eye makeup is, I feel like it's seductive, but bold. Yeah. But, no. Like I said, I'm working on the book. I have a lot of ideas. It's going to go through a major rewrite, seeing as how a lot of what I wrote previously, which was, I think, 4 chapters, was with the idea that it was just a regular dark romance. Now I'm going to rewrite all that with the idea it's going to be a fantasy, like a dark romantasy novel. Because, again, I feel like adding in the fantasy elements can make it a little bit more dreamlike and whimsical, but also can add a little bit more stakes and tension to the entire overarching story. And this novel I'll talk about in greater detail in its own separate video, so yeah. Okay, so we'll finish up my makeup. I just want to talk real quick about my overall writing process. Seeing as how, like, now I'm really starting to, like, dig my feet in with writing. One, because I am obviously going to be starting my MA program soon, and I want to see if I can do the whole crosswalk program, whatever it's called, where I'm able to, if I reapply, I can try to see about get accepted into the MFA program, which to me would be heaven. And I only say that just because, like, for me, since my goal is I would love to be a published author one day, that is what I would prefer, to be within the MFA program, so I can see about, hopefully and potentially, just having a better skill set as an author. Because for the MFA program, I would have for my thesis, I should say, I would have to create a publish-ready manuscript that is, at minimum, 50,000 words. Which doesn't sound that crazy. And to me, it's not. 50,000 words is not that crazy. But, again, this big but, I want to make sure at the end of it, I'm ready. Because the query process, however the word is pronounced, because I don't know why my brain, every time I try to say the word, turns off. But the query process is not a simple one. It's not an easy one. There's a lot of time being spent with it. And so I know having a publish-ready manuscript off rip sets me up already. From there, then having a general idea of how the process needs to go, because that would also be covered in the MFA program, helps me a lot as well. And, like, I think that's what I want to get at. I'm like, I want to set myself up for the best chance of success possible. Like, I have ideas. I have a lot of goals. I want to be, prepped, primed, ready to go. And that's kind of where I'm at. I'm like, I have a lot I want to do. Let's do it, hopefully. But with my writing process, let's go with that. So with my writing process, and this isn't just like this book in particular, like my dark romantasy book, but just any bit of work I'm writing on, I find inspiration. And what I mean by that, and that's, I know, such a vague what the fuck term, what I mean is I just always stay open-minded to the world around me and what could or could not inspire me. And again, very vague. But that's kind of just the point in a sense, because everything, what would inspire me may not inspire you. So keep that in mind. So if I'm sitting down, I'm looking at something and I hear someone say a phrase off in the corner. Like, say I'm at a restaurant and someone says whatever. I don't know what the hell, like a random phrase, like, or just like says something like, what if blank? Or anything. Like, I'm just trying to think of something. One second. Let me see if I can find some notes and I'll give an example. Okay, so I found something because, like, I have, like, ideas, like, of, like, potential poem titles and stuff like that because I do write poetry. So one is, obviously, people said this all the time, but one foot in front of the other foot. Again, very simple, very basic. But another is, I'll never know why. Lone women. Satellite call. As long as it takes for you. Something like a heartbreak. Behind closed doors. Like, these are just like little phrases, little ideas that to me meant something. And that's kind of why, to me, I will take it, write it down, and be like, oh my god, this is an idea I can use for a poem, or build up to for a story. Like, an entire, like, larger, either a short story or, like, a overall book, anything like that. So, for example, I don't know why I didn't think of this earlier when I had to, like, now I had to, like, start searching. But, so for my sapphic romance, the historical sapphic romance I'm working on, that is titled All This in Heaven 2. And that's just, like, a very big, to me, pivotal part of what the book is about. Additionally, the story focuses around the general question of how much would you give up. Oh, that was too much. How much would you possibly give up for the person you love? Like, how much are you willing to potentially sacrifice for the person you love? And that's kind of what I wanted to explore with that book, that story. Again, with the dark romantasy novel titled My Heart Belongs to Daddy. Again, I want to just be a little punny, the title. But also, again, that's just a very, in my mind, common phrase. I know of it, obviously, from, like, Marilyn Monroe. Ariana Grande did a cover of that during, I believe, her Sweetener tour. So, like, to me, it's a very common phrase that can be used in a variety of ways. And that's kind of why I just wanted to, like, I take stuff like, I take inspiration and I obviously modify it to make it my own. And that's, like, the biggest thing for me in my writing process, is stay open-minded to what inspiration could be. Whether it is, you know, a phrase, an idea, like, again, young forever, behind closed doors, be my daddy, my heart belongs to daddy, sleepless nights, love me and let me go, you know? These are ideas that have been said and shared and everything so many times. They're kind of borderline redundant. But to me, my brain is just like, okay, someone said blank. How can I modify it to make it me? With my oftentimes pessimistic and just overly depressed perspective on life and my experiences with love, life, everything, because the way I view the world is going to be different from the way another author views the world or would view an interaction or everything in between. And that's another reason why a lot of authors, you will use similar tropes, but your books will not be an exact one-to-one, because we all view the world and life and everything differently. Plus, also, we're going to make sure we aren't plagiarizing each other, so there's that. One moment, little pause, make sure I get everything for my lips, and we'll finish my lips in just a moment. See you then. Okay, so real quick, so for lip liner, I use a mixture of ColourPop BFF lip liner and the Anastasia Beverly Hills lip liner in Cranberry, just to create this little lip combo. First one, we're going with Timephoria. This is their Altera Blurring Lip Tint and 16 Blaze. I'm just going to list everything I use down in the description like I normally do, but still. One second. Okay. But anyway, so for me, writing, my writing process, my writing, everything, the entire outlook, the whole 9 yards, to me, it is a very therapeutic process. It's not a simple, like, yes, no, maybe so, bitch, we're good. It's very much, I have to think a lot. I know, like, oh my god, thinking, brains, groundbreaking, you know. But no, I do think a lot, because for me, the process of saying this is a story I would like to write because of X, Y, and Z is important, because to me, and for example, with all this in heaven too. I was trying to answer the simple question of how much are you willing to risk or give up for the person you love. It is a historical sapphic romance. It is set in 1890 Victorian England. How much rights do you think women had in Victorian England? Not much. How much, privilege and rights do you think just queer women in general even had? Not much. Queer people did not have much privilege back then. So it was just very much like, I want you to look at this and be like, okay, here's all the societal expectations of this individual, because now they're a person of status. Like, they come from a titled family, a land-owning family. Joocyee, whenever this is Wild Hawthorne. And then with My Heart Belongs to Daddy, that book, I'm looking at trauma and just the way our trauma, our fears, our insecurities, just like our everything can affect the way we interact with others, the way we interact with and perceive love, romance, affection, all of that. Because again, to me, again, this is a key word, to me, it's nothing life-altering, if that makes sense. To me, when I'm thinking about it, I'm like, okay, we are aware that our trauma, if it's not healed or whatever, it can cause issues. We can look at those around us we love and everything, and it can affect the way we view and perceive love. But I want to talk about it and talk about it in an unabashed way. Not in the sense of, oh, just add traumatic events to a story just for sake of adding traumatic events to a story. It's more a matter of, this is the cause and here's the reaction. So it's not a matter of, oh, it happened in this moment. You're learning about through like small flashbacks when someone is going through their healing process. So we're on the other side. The event already happened. They're going through this healing process with this other person they are connected to and they love. But then because, again, this is a gay romance, so an MM romance, two males, male presenting, they have the societal expectations and pressures added onto them. Obviously, I said it's a dark romantasy series, well, book series. I don't know how I want to approach it. I said like 12 times, but that is a dark romantasy novel. And that is, again, titled My Heart Belongs to Daddy, because I wanted a little cheeky, a little tongue-in-cheek, all that shit. But my brain blanked for a second. But I also want to add the fantasy elements, because I want those fantastical elements added in, not for the sake of, oh, I'm adding it just to add it. I'm adding it because, to me, I feel the fantasy elements, the fantasy moments, will only help elevate the story as a whole. To me, I read it and I'm like, okay, fantasy, there's new stakes, now there's new societal customs and expectations, because there's, fantasy. And so I'm like, okay, we would have two different worlds side by side, parallel, blending, whatever. This world has their own customs and expectations. Is it different? Is it better? Is it the same? Like, what's going on? And how do I want to approach that? So again, it's, to me, my writing process, and this is very long, I do apologize. My writing process is find inspiration, whatever that may be, whether it's a word, a phrase, a sentence, anything. Sit down, look at it, accept it all, just take it all in. And the other thing is listen to the muses, listen to whatever may or may not inspire you. Just stay open-minded. So like if you have a phone, notepad, anything, just like start jotting stuff down and stay open-minded to the fact of anything could inspire you. Anything could inspire you to write. Anything could inspire you to create something new and different and possibly diverse for yourself and what you expected to write. So again, it's just stay open-minded, stay aware, just stay, I don't know what else to say besides that, but just stay open-minded and aware. Just look out for the fact of like inspiration can come from literally anything. And from there, add your twist onto it. If you think, okay, well, this is a overdone story idea, cool, it's an overdone story idea. How are you going to make it yours though? How are you going to make it yours? Again, the idea of I have a second chance romance I'm working on. How many second chance romance books do you think exist? How many? Thousands. But how am I going to make it mine? Simple. Take it through my world. Make it almost feel like, just take one small instance from my personal life. That's what I did. Took one small instance from my personal life and just made it its own caricature. And just expanded upon it, took it to the extremes and said, what if blank? And is that bad? Possibly. But what I mean by that is just like, okay, what if this relationship worked? What if me and so-and-so were in a relationship? Anything. And again, that's really weird to be saying. But it's not a matter of me saying it just for sake of like, oh, I want to fuck so-and-so. It's more a matter of like, how would I mentally react in that situation? If I was the person going through something like this, how would I react? And that's just for like the one main character's perspective. And because again, it's a dual perspective novel, so it's like I'm bouncing back and forth. So like the other person, I'm like, I don't know how I would react. So it does make it harder. And that's where like my freedom and my creativity can really take over. Not saying it's not with the one main character, but I'm able to have, I feel, a lot more freedom of expression and exploration because my brain isn't sitting here going, I don't know. But I can also, like I said, tap into my feelings and emotions because I'm looking at going, well, this is how I would react. So since that's how I would react, guess what? That's how I'm going to base it off of. So let's go with that. I don't know what the hell that is. Weird. But that's what I'm doing personally. Is it perfect? No. None of what I said, I'm going to say this, none of what I've said right here, right now is the gospel truth. None of what I'm saying is hand to God what you need to do. But it is what I do. Okay? It is what I personally do. It's not perfect. It's not what you have to do. But it is something I personally do. Okay? Awesome. We'll leave it at that. Thank you all so much. I love you all, and I hope you have a wonderful night or day, whatever time it is for you guys. But yeah, stay safe. Talk to you guys later. Bye.